Here on Democracy Now!, I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
We turn now to Gaza, where a tentative ceasefire appears to have taken hold after Hamas said it had agreed to a truce with Israel. The fighting followed a recent wave of non-violent protests near Israel's militarized border with Gaza, in which Israeli snipers killed 116 Palestinians and injured thousands of others. On Wednesday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stopped short of declaring a formal ceasefire.
Those responsible for the escalation, inspired by Iran, are the Hamas regime, the Islamic Jihad, and the other terrorist organizations. I am not detailing our plans because I do not want the enemy to know what lies in store for him. But one thing is clear to him: when they test us, they pay immediately, and if they continue to test us, they will pay far more.
This comes as 4 Israeli warships intercepted a flotilla that tried to challenge Israel's naval blockade of the Gaza Strip on Tuesday. More than a dozen unarmed people were on board, including injured protesters and cancer patients seeking medical treatment abroad. The protest came as Israel is constructing a fortified maritime barrier. This is Mohammed Abu Aida, one of the flotilla participants.
We demand to break the blockade. I hope to seek medical treatment in other Arabic countries because of my injury. The attempt to sail today aims to help us break the blockade.
The flotilla's attempt to break Israel's naval blockade coincided with the 8th anniversary of Israel's attack on the Mavi Marmara flotilla, which killed 9 activists while the boat was sailing in international waters, one of them an American citizen, 18-year-old Furqan Dogan. A 10th person died after 4 years in a coma. For more, we are joined by 2 guests. We go to Gaza, where Ramadan al-Hayek is with us, one of the organizers of the Gaza flotilla that tried to break the Israeli naval blockade Tuesday and was taken by Israeli military. And in Amsterdam, we're joined by Zohar Chamberlain Regev, an Israeli citizen who's on board the Freedom Flotilla ship, Al-Ada, the Return, which has just arrived in the port of Amsterdam. The flotilla set sail April 30th from the Norwegian port of Bergen and plans to arrive in Gaza in July. Regev has lived in Spain for the last 14 years and has participated in the coordination of the Spanish component of the Freedom Flotilla since 2012. She's also the owner of the women's boat to Gaza, which was seized in 2016, is still the object of court proceedings in Israel. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Let's go first to Ramadan in Gaza. Talk about what happened to your ship and who was on it. How many people were there and what's taken place over these last few days?
Well, first of all, the idea came from the severe pain and suffering of a 12-year Israeli blockade on Gaza Strip, in which 2 million of the Palestinian people's lives were devastating. We are talking about more than 45% of unemployment rate, one of the highest rates in the world, and more than 45% of shortages in medical treatment and medical equipment here in Gaza, in the hospitals of Gaza, and as well as more than 150,000 Palestinian students who have been graduated and now without job or work. And at the same time, on the 8th anniversary of attacking Mavi Marmara, which was sailing toward Gaza to break the siege, the passengers, there were about 17 passengers on the boat, which is called Freedom Boat. These passengers include patient people, cancers, and injured people, and also students who want to convey their message for the free world that we need to live as others in this world, and we want our basic human rights as others, and as the international conventions and international and humanitarian law stated that. Secondly, after 14 nautical miles, the Freedom Flotilla boat was surrounded by 4 Israeli warships, and they shot on this boat, the Freedom Flotilla, and then they dragged them to Ashdod seaport. At 3:20, we lost contact with them, and then at 11 p.m. Before 2 days ago at night, the Israeli forces released 14 out of 17 passengers, and after 3 hours, the Israeli side also released another 2 people. One of them is injured, and now 16 out of 17 are released now, except one man is called Suhail Al-Amoudi. He's one of the crewmen. And now we are making calls and contacts with the Red Cross and other international organizations to support and to protect this man, Mr. Suhail Al-Amoudi.
Ramadan, have you been in touch with these passengers who've been released?
Yes, I've been in touch with them, and I met them twice. I felt and I saw a strong determination by them, all of them, and they told me, especially personally, that we will continue and we want another boats to go outside to the world in order to build our future, for access for medical treatment and access for education. This is our rights. We will struggle for life.
I want to go to Zohar Chamberlain Regev, the Israeli citizen on board the Freedom Flotilla ship called Al-Ada, which means the return. You have just arrived in the port of Amsterdam. Talk about this ship and what you're planning to do with it and why you, as an Israeli citizen, are aboard.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I would like to speak about Al-Auda, the return. It's a boat that, as you said, left Norway about a month ago, and we've just arrived in Amsterdam. We're stopping in many ports on the way, as does the rest of the flotilla, the boats coming from Sweden. And our plan is to make the voyage just as important as actually reaching Gaza. Of course, we go with a message of solidarity and hope, and we're really humbled by the efforts of the Palestinians in Gaza to show the world that all they want is just to live a normal life, to be able to move about freely like most citizens of the world. And ours are just small efforts, but we try to amplify their voices through our action. So our boats will sail. There'll be 2 vessels sailing the Atlantic route, and 2 smaller vessels, sailing vessels, will be going the canal route of Europe. Then we will join together in the Mediterranean and continue to Gaza from there.
And Zohar, can you explain?
As an Israeli, I feel like I have a double obligation to participate in this, because it's my own people who are inflicting this suffering on the Palestinians of Gaza. And what we try to convey is a message that we only try to protect human rights and make Israel comply with international law. We are not there to threaten or to provoke. We just think that it's time the international community held Israel accountable for what it's doing.
And Zohar, can you explain why the ship is called the Return, Al-Auda?
Yes, of course. We have planned this mission for quite some time, actually since before the Women's Boat to Gaza mission. We've said that in 2018 we will try to make a more visible mission. We knew, of course, that it was going to be the 70th anniversary of the Nakba. And we try through our mission that is called Right to a Just Future for Palestine, we try to focus on both the youth in Gaza. There are many young people in Gaza, and as we see, they are willing to actually risk their lives just to be visible. They say we would rather die by a sniper shot and still, do this in front of world's eyes. And actually their march of return has made Gaza a news item right now. And we wanted to, combine our efforts with that and to put the Gaza situation in the context of the occupation and dispossession of Palestinians from their native lands that goes back 70 years and even more.
Zohar Chamberlain Regev, you're an Israeli citizen. You're also an amputee. And I was wondering if you can talk about how that affects the way you see this situation? Again, the last 6 weeks of the nonviolent Palestinian protests have seen over 115 Palestinians killed, over 12,000 wounded. You have many amputees. Can you discuss this?
Well, again, I must say, my experience, I was injured in a car accident, and of course I was taken to a hospital straight away, given, the blood I needed. I was taken care of. And now when I hear about Israeli snipers shooting people in the knee with all sorts of strange ammunition that nobody recognizes and that is just destroying their limbs, and then that Israeli authorities or Israeli court refuse to let them come through Israel to get treatment, and they amputate them because they cannot take care of them in Gaza. I think this is heartbreaking. I think this is really, really terrible.
And what message
do you have? Of course, my experience is that, but, it just gives me a glimpse into what that could be.
What message do you have for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
I've just heard in another part of your program that he was speaking about Hamas and being led by Iran. And we just want to look at the Palestinians in Gaza as human beings. And it's something very basic in Judaism. You should not do to others what you don't want done to yourself. So I think this is just very, very basic. Comply with international law, respect human rights, and this will be the best guarantee for the security of the people in Israel as well as Palestinians. I think it's just common sense.
And Ramadan, can you talk about what you expect to happen next? What are you advocating for now?
Well, actually, we are talking about a coastal enclave, which is Gaza Strip, which is under an Israeli siege for more than 12 years ago. And Israel is in an occupying power, although it's already disengaged from Gaza in 2005, leaving it. And Israel still controls the air and land and sea of Gaza Strip. So in the coming days, there might be another ships toward the free world in order to convey the Palestinian people message in Gaza Strip and the Palestinian cause, because this is a justice cause, and we are talking about a siege that is becoming more worse than before. For example, 2018 is the most worst year in the past 12 years, and it's becoming on the verge of collapse on all of the sections here, and all aspects of life in Gaza Strip is becoming more dangerous.
And what does it mean to you, Ramadan, that an Israeli citizen, that people like Zahar are part of this flotilla?
Well, actually, the international law and international conventions support humans regardless of their religion and racism. So Sahar, the Israeli citizen here, is coming to Gaza Strip, and the Palestinian people in Gaza are waiting with warm feelings for her and the other free people who will come here to support and to respect the human rights as her and as other free people on their boat, which is called the return or al-Awda boat. And we, as the Palestinians, respect, and we want also from the international community to make a pressure on the Israeli side to deal with the Palestinians as human rights, as human beings, and to respect and obey the international obligations.
And Ramadan, today is the anniversary of the attack on the Mavi Marmara. How much do you think has changed in Israel since then, or in the Gaza Strip?
Well, it's the 8th anniversary of Mavi Marmara, and unfortunately, 9 of the Turkish activists were killed by the Israeli Navy forces. And today, the Palestinian people, especially the Freedom Flotilla or Freedom Boat, which was sailed before 2 days ago, they want to confirm for the world that we will continue the duty of this Mavi Marmara and other boats, and the duty of free people who can't come to Gaza Strip. The people here in Gaza Strip are going to do peaceful events and what they can do, and they will do their best to face the obstacles and challenges that have been imposed by the Israeli side. So, and they want the international community to make also another time a pressure on Israel to respect human rights and international conventions.
We want to end with the 2010 interview that we did on Democracy Now! With filmmaker and activist Yara Lee, one of the few Americans on the Mavi Marmara ship that came from Turkey. She shared with us footage of the attack that she was able to save. 10 people ultimately died on that ship, 9 Turkish, 1 young American citizen. This was footage she was able to save after soldiers confiscated her equipment. When you show the video of the helicopters above, and we're showing that now, we see that there is, and we can hear below the sound of an explosion. What was happening there?
I can't give you all the technical information about what is rubber bullet sound, what is, live ammunition, but obviously they came with live ammunition, and very minutes afterwards we had the megaphone in our rooms, in every room in the ship, saying, stay quiet and calm, they're using live ammunition, there is no way we can resist, they are taking over the ship, just stay calm and don't resist at all, The other boats, they used rubber bullets and tear gas. They didn't kill people, but in our ship, they came to kill.
And in fact, 9 people were killed. Another one would die after that. One of them, a young American citizen, that was Yara Lee, who was speaking, sharing her video footage. 8 years ago, the Mavi Marmara was attacked by the Israeli military. Now we're talking about this latest flotilla, and ending with Zohar Chamberlain-Regev, who just came into the port of Amsterdam from Norway, an Israeli Jewish citizen on board the Freedom Flotilla. Al-Ada is the name of your ship, the Return, the name of the march for the last 6 weeks, the peaceful challenge to the Israeli military in Gaza was also the March of Return. Can you talk about the people who are on your ship, how many people are on that ship, and who people represent, where they come from, Zohar?
Yes, we come from many different countries. We're Jews, Muslims, Christians, atheists. We have people from different nationalities. We try to keep the diversity. So right now, coming into Amsterdam, there was a Palestinian on board, is actually media, 2 American citizens. We have crew that are Swedish and Norwegian. We have people from Malaysia. Myself, an Israeli, but living in Spain, so we have this language diversity on the boat as well. And there'll be many more people coming on and getting off at the different ports, because we just want to give this impression we're regular people. We just want to, do our little bit to make this world a better place. And we believe that respecting human rights and stopping the violations of human rights of the Palestinian people in Gaza is what we need to do.
We want to thank you both for being with us. Zohar Chamberlain-Regev, Israeli Jewish citizen on board the Freedom Flotilla in the port of Amsterdam. And speaking to us from Gaza, Ramadan al-Hayek, one of the organizers of the Gaza Flotilla. The Gaza Flotilla trying to challenge the Israeli naval blockade of Gaza. It left the port filled with people needing medical assistance, as well as students and crew intercepted by Israeli naval forces. We'll continue to follow that flotilla, but when we come back, we go to Edmonton, to Alberta. The Canadian government has taken over the Trans Mountain Pipeline, the Kinder Morgan Pipeline. We'll speak with an Indigenous activist about what this means. Stay with us.